Hello, hello, hello. So welcome back. We are in video 4 of Yoga for the Inner Work. Remember, we've talked about what is inner work. It's personal development for the soul. Personal development for the soul. In our last video, we talked about how does yoga work in the body and the breath. And we went through that sun salute and we practiced being in that physical posture, practicing how does the breathing feel for me today? What parts of the body are receiving the breath? What parts of the body are not receiving the breath? And as I said in our fundamental yoga series, we can go through a little bit more of like learning the basics. But I just want you to have an overview in this course of like how it all comes together. So here we are, video 4. How does yoga work for the mind? When we think about the intellect, so remember the koshas, we have the big physical body, right? Then we have that more subtle breathing body. And then we have that little bit more subtle intellectual body, emotional body, the way we perceive the world body. And then we go a little bit deeper into this gut instinct body, wisdom body, inner knowledge body, all the way to that little acorn, that seed, that soul of who you are, the Anandamaya kosha, that bliss, right? So we talked about the physical body and the breathing body in the yoga practice on the yoga mat with our bare feet, right? Today we're going to talk about the intellect and the inner knowing, the inner knowledge. So remember, the whole idea of these different sheaths or veils or koshas is that they are unraveling you to the truth of who you are, which is the goal of yoga, to know yourself truly, to lift the veil of ignorance, the veil of suffering, of not knowing who you are. So let's talk about this. The ego, very healthy, right? The ego is the way we sort of move in our life. It's I am me. I'm a mother. I'm a woman. I'm, a yoga teacher. I am here making a video for you. I sometimes feel bad about myself. Sometimes I feel proud of myself. Sometimes I'm happy. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I act like my mother. Sometimes I get mad at my brother. Like all the things that sort of make me me. Wonderful, right? That's human. That's a human experience. But what we want to remember is that sometimes those filters, sometimes those lenses is not the truth. They're not the truth. And sometimes we say that like it is the truth. And for those of you who know me, my business Inner Gaze Yoga is all about mindset coaching, where we really dive into looking at some of the ways that you think that may not be serving you. For example, one of my favorite thoughts to think is I am unlovable. I don't think that so much now, but I am unlovable. I had this sort of lens. I am unlovable. I am unlovable. I am unlovable. And when, Jesus and Buddha and all these different spiritual teachers have taught us that we are what we think we are. If I believe that I'm unlovable, and I really believe it, it doesn't matter how many people say I'm lovable. It doesn't matter what people's opinions of me is. If I believe that about myself, I'm going to act in a way that's, guess what? Pretty unlovable, pushing people away, isolating myself, not letting people really know me, right? Putting on a perception or a filter for you that's like tap dancing and smiling on the outside, but on the inside it's not congruent, which is what causes suffering. When our outside doesn't match our inside, we are suffering, by the by. Okay, so part of this filter, these ways that we take in our lives, is not the truth. But we get so caught up. I'm always that way. That's just the way I am. That's how my dad was. And it causes us to suffer. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to know. Part of yoga practice is remembering that this part of our mind, this chattery part of our mind, is just sort of the colors that we are using. It doesn't mean the truth. Okay. Here's another way to explain it. And I learned this from Mickey Singer. Really wonderful teacher. You should look him up. The Untethered Soul is his most famous book. I'll put that in the end of the course. But he talks about, like, what if you go to sleep at night, right? And you wake up the next day, you go to work and you say, oh my God, I had the most amazing dream. I had the most amazing dream last night. Well, how did you know you had a dream, right? You were sleeping. Because a part of our mind is always on. A part of our mind is always watching. So even though the movie of my life is all these thoughts and chatters and thoughts and chatters and thoughts and chatters, there's a oneness, there's a self that is witnessing or observing me in action. Like even right now, I don't have my mirror. Here's my mirror. Even me right now, as I talk to you, there is a part of me that's watching me talk to you, making sure that I say what I want to say, making sure that I keep myself in alignment and not too driven of whether you like me or you don't like me, or you're learning from this course or you're not learning from the right. All of that is happening. But the part of me that really wants you to learn and benefit from this work and get something out of it that sort of sparks something in you, that part is what's driving me because I'm open to that connection, which brings us to the fourth kosha, the Vijnana Maya kosha. So that mirror, that's the Vijnana Maya kosha. This is the real inner knowledge. Both of them are me, and both of them are true. But if I can lean back and deeper into this quality of this inner knowing, this inner wisdom, this sort of divine part of me that's one small step away from the truth, the true soul that I am, and I live from there, I'm moving with love, I'm moving with humility, I'm moving with surrender, I'm moving with peace, rather than just driving with my ego. Although the ego is healthy too, right? The ego is healthy too. So how do we use yoga to work with these two wisdoms, these two intellects, the sort of lower level, the ego, the manomaya kosha, the logical mind, the one that went to college or high school, the one that reads the books and that part, as well as this inner wisdom, this inner knowing, this gut instinct, this inner intuition. Okay. Well, there's a couple of ways. So first of all, the manomaya kosha, we can benefit our manomaya kosha. We can clean it out by, again, doing some sort of mindset coaching, either with me, with a therapist, with talking to friends who sort of call you out on your stuff, right? Where it's just not yes men always agreeing with you. If you're someone who is a boss at work, being open to what your employees give when they give feedback, listening to your arguments with your spouse when they say, oh, you're so selfish, or, oh, you never think about what I need to do. Like, listen, be open to other people's political views, be open to other people's opinions about things. Doesn't mean you have to buy it and completely go right in, but you're open to it. You're reading, right? You're learning, you're noticing. You're reading, you're learning, you're noticing. I want to check my notes here. You're doing self-study, right? You're doing self-study. You're looking at yourself in ways that you're just not staying in, like, this is what our family's always done for all the years of our ancestry. We always, like, you're open to learning. And then having this idea of new ideas and new ponderings. Another way that it happens is with mantras. Now, mantras are repeating something again and again. To me, it feels like an eraser, right? An eraser. So if I use the thought, I am unlovable, right? And I literally did this, years ago. I wrote down all the things that I think make a person lovable. Like, they make mistakes. They say they're sorry when they're sorry. They're just so cute. All the things that make someone lovable. And then I read all those things and I am those things. I am. So I had to think about what I think about lovable. And then I had to decide that's my new awareness. So it's repeating to yourself, I am so lovable. I'm just really lovable. Saying that more than I'm unlovable, I'm a piece of blah, blah, that kind of thing. So you're changing the way you think about it. And that's why you see people wearing these prayer beads or these mala beads. It is a way to repeat mantras to yourself again and again so you don't lose track of how many you've done. So I know in different religions, you have different things. And so one of the ways is that you just count as you go through your mantra work. You just move the beads so that you can keep a count and then get all the way through to the end. And there you are at the end. You could do any kind of mantra you want. You could say, I'm loving to myself and others. I'm going to, move today with a sunshiny disposition. I'm going to, whatever. You could meditate on whatever. So mantra work is a way to sort of change the groove of the brain. And I'll talk more about that in another video also, but that's enough for right now. The Vijnana Maya Kosha. So this inner knowing, this inner wisdom, this is where we are as close to our genuine, authentic self as we could possibly be. Now, I just read recently that they were testing frequencies in bodies. They were looking at people, what the frequency of the vibrations they have at different emotions, when they're angry, when they're sad, in despair, all the different ways. And do you know, the guess is that love would be the highest frequency. That isn't it? Don't you think that love, like I'm so loving, that is the most highest frequency, but it wasn't. Do you know what the highest frequency of a human being is? What emotion? It's authenticity. Authenticity. So when you feel congruent, when you are sad and you are letting yourself feel that feeling, or when you are, in gratitude and you are feeling it and it just feels true to who you are in that moment, or I mean, it could be sort of lower vibrational emotions too. It's when you feel connected to the truth of who you are is the highest frequency that a human being can feel. And that's the Vijnana Maya Kosha. That's our most genuine, authentic self. And I secretly call it the Bubba self, because when my kids were little, one of them went to, just woke up in the morning and wasn't really a morning person. It was just kind of moving to the bathroom, for the first morning, bathroom break. The cutest, like just preciousness. It was like, oh, that's a Bubba, right? It's just the truth of who you are. It doesn't mean you're all dolled up. It doesn't mean you're showing up in a way that's, you're proud of. It's just you at your most authentic self. And that is the Vijnana Maya Kosha. How do we clean up this? How do we access this part? Meditation. Meditation. Now, the intellect, the Manomaya Kosha, is the mantra work where you're just trying to focus your mind. You're just trying to get it to focus, right? Get it to focus, get it to focus. This level is when the meditation and you are there. You are there, right? When you're playing the guitar and you're in the zone and hours go by and you didn't even know, or you're making a painting, or you're sitting at the ocean and you just lose time. That's the Vijnana Maya Kosha. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to tell you about that. Oh, yes, the most important. The most important. Okay. The easiest way to access this Vijnana Maya Kosha is through surrender. Total oneness with the moment. It's through the feeling of humility. And remember, humility doesn't mean I think less of myself. I think less of myself. I'm inferior to you. True humility is I think of myself less. I think of my ego, my needs, my wants, my preferences less. So when you are in gratitude, when you are in humble, when you are in surrender, when you are in faith and hope that it may not work out the way you want it to work out, but everything always works out for you. It always works out for you. It always works out for you. You are in the Vijnana Maya Kosha. And again, that's the last layer before you get to the truth of who you are. So through meditation, through your creative impulses, through these humbling, surrendering, grateful, loving, genuine plug-ins with yourself, you're getting closer and closer to the truth, the big truth from here of who you really are. Okay? I know. So in our last video, I'm going to show you what the path of yoga is. What is the path to this self that we're talking about? And I will show it to you exactly from the way that I learned it. And I'm hoping it will inspire you to walk the path of yoga throughout the rest of your life as I have, because I truly feel like it's not what's happening in the yoga class, right? It's happening outside of the yoga class as well, in our relationships, in the way that we sit and read a book, in the way that we eat. All of this is yoga. All right, deep bows, so much love, and namaste.